The concept of feedback keeps coming up in your answers. What does good feedback look like? How do we receive it and how do we give it?
Yeah. So let's start with how we give it. So we all have these expectations. Most of the time, those expectations are unknown to us. We're not aware of them. They exist. We're just not aware we have them. Things happen. We perceive them. We get confused. That confusion leads to these internal narratives. Oh, that person's bad at their job or whatever. And then the feedback is either withheld because we don't like hurting others. Humans as a species are relatively conflict averse, or we like blurt out this stuff like you screwed that up, you're bad. So both of those are terrible. Both of those are neither one of those is a feedback loop. Both of those are confusion inducing, failure to actually work out your confusion. And so the way to do it is consistent with what we've said before. You have to work out your confusion first. So the way you do that is you say, listen, I want to be explicit about what I think good looks like. And I don't want to talk about outcomes right now. I just want to be explicit about what I think, what's the goal or how should this work? And so you have that conversation. You get in sync with another person. Again, you're not talking to them about how they're bad or how they're good or whatever. You're just getting in sync on what's the standard. Then you complete that part of the conversation. You move to the next part of the conversation and say, now I want to talk about my experience. Again, you're not casting blame. You're not even diagnosing. You're just saying, what I experienced is, the project wasn't delivered on time, or I was confused about why we waited so long to deliver this to the customer or whatever it is. And you're not seeking to get in sync with that. All you're seeking to do is to give them transparency into your confusion. And then what you're trying to do is figuring out what they experienced. Well, yeah, I delivered it late to the customer, but it's not that big a deal. Oh, okay. So you actually knew that you were delivering late, but you just deprioritized it. Now, what you do is the next stage is you look at the difference between the standard you agreed upon, what good looks like, and what actually happened. And the gap between those two things is the gap of performance. It is the feedback you're trying to deliver, but you're
Huh.
delivering it in a way where you're first making sense of what the standard is, not assuming that it's that we're both aligned on that. The other person knows what you know, and second, you're getting in sync on what the reality was. And then third is you're looking at the gap between those two things and sort of looking at it together, right? We're not counterparties here. I'm not accusing you. I'm assuming the person you're sitting across from has signed this basic implied contract that, yeah, I want to unleash my potential. I want to be great. Not everybody signs that contract, by the way. A lot of people are like, yeah, I don't really care. And you got to know that. You got to know that you do care about unleashing potential and you want to hang out with other people who do. And then you actually have to be explicit about that expectation in the hiring process, et cetera. And so you're sitting across from this, you're having a conversation with this person about that you want to help them. And so you're really side by side looking at this reality and saying, okay, are we in sync? Like, this is a bad outcome. You're not assigning blame here or anything. You're just saying, are we in sync? This is a bad outcome. And now let's figure out why that bad outcome happened. So this is a feedback method that we've taught to lots and lots of people. And when you do it and you're orienting to like being explicit about the standard norms, whatever you're comparing to, taking a look at just your own confusion against that expectation and figuring out what the other person was experiencing, and then move to the gap in performance and then figuring out together why it happened, then I think you're actually doing a couple things. One, you're being very explicit about what you believe is something somebody else needs to know. Two is you're being open-minded about what you could be missing. And three, you're conducting the feedback in a way that the person feels enlisted in the process, because it's not an accusation, it's an attempt to discover what is true.